Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, hear about new technology you can use to track rainfall totals on your farm called RainDrop. Ben shows us the latest seed treatment data for soybeans. We explain all that goes into our starting line corn seed treatment and how it's always improving. Our area sales managers got together to be even more prepared for what's to come in 2024. Hear Lynn's takeaways from this meeting. Turk has some updates on the Dicamba label, the Farm Bill extension, and the stopgap funding bill.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have Ben, Lynn, and Turk. I'm going to let Ben start off today.
Yeah, so Brian McKillop passed us on a new website. Turk and I used to frequent this, if you Google 72-hour rainfall totals, and you can scroll down in and it'll give you a radar estimated rainfall amount for the past 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, 72 hours, and it gives you a nice little update. Well, they changed that website, that precipitation website, and you couldn't zoom in. Basically, you couldn't tell any difference basically by county. Like, it's just county by county kind of. And there's this new website called RainDrop. But why I find this website very, very interesting, and it's something from an agronomic tool that you can use, is it gives you the ability to look at past rainfall for the entire growing season. So I have the screen shared here, and we can flip over to that. But if you roll out, you know, it's just like a Google map. It gives you the big picture, and you'll scroll into the farm. One of the things that I find very interesting is, you know, why one hybrid worked in one spot versus where it worked in another. You know, rainfall can make a huge difference when you're looking at, you know, the area where my family farms. You know, there's 13,000 acres in the Green Bay bottoms, and the difference in rainfall for a growing season, when you look at the 3 different fields that we have in all different corners of this 13,000 acre bottom ground, is, I mean, it's a big deal. So as we go up here, we can look at the, let's roll her over to the last 180 days. That gets us to May 15th, May 17th, something like that. And you can see here where it's got it blocked out on each one of these individual squares are probably going to have a different reading on it. But if I would go to the field furthest to the west, up against the railroad tracks, we've had 17.7 inches of rain for the growing season. If you go to the fields over here next to the river bottom ground, so we're at 20.46. So what's the difference between that? 20.46. So there's 3 more inches of rain from one end of the bay to the other, and then we have a farm up here on the north. There's 20.79 inches of rain. So
how much distance-wise would you say?
6 miles.
6 miles?
So if you wanted to kind of hone in and dial in, and it gets tighter when you look at shorter term, if you roll back, and we don't have any good rainfall amounts because it hasn't rained here in the past 60 days. But if you wanted to look at where we were at for rainfall for the past 60 days, you know, we've only had 3.26 inches. Some areas caught a little bit more and a little bit less. So it's radar indicated. It's not going to be exactly accurate, but it's going to give you a pretty good idea on what fields got more rain, and it may help you dissect some of your yield maps a little bit better. I know, like, for you guys farm in 2 different counties, and there's what, 20-mile spread? Yeah. It'd be a good tool when you're looking at it for, you know, who caught the rain, why'd the field yield like this, and it gives you a nice little perspective.
Yeah. And we've been told that radar indicated rain typically is a little bit on the heavy side as a general rule. In other words, you know, if you had a rain gauge out there, the rain gauge would probably be a little bit less, but still, great tool. I mean, when you analyze your yields and look at your data, I mean, particularly when you look over a growing season, it's a great tool. It just came online too, didn't it? Yep,
it's a brand new website. He actually found it on one of the Ag Talk forums that guys really appreciated the old website, but this actually has more information. It can give you average historical rainfall. It can give you rainfall variation totals, so where we are this past year compared to the historic. You know, if we roll down here, we were at 2.7 inches less than average for the growing season. So just a nice tool to take a look at, and it may help you provide a little bit better data. When I look at this compared to our climate reports that we get, so climate field view reports, climate only goes down to 1/10 of an inch. So if you have a trace amount of rain, it'll automatically just tack 1/10 of an inch onto that field for the year, and it just accumulates throughout the year. This is way more accurate. I mean, this matches the rain gauge more times than climate 90% of the time. So thought it was a nice little tool. Thought it'd be worth sharing with our growers and customers. And
you didn't even mention the best part of it.
what's that?
It's free.
It's free. That's right. Free app or a free website there that we can use to help guys out if they're wanting another tool in the toolbox. I hate that saying.
Well, I think you're spot on when we take we're taking a look at evaluating varieties or hybrids. We get a lot of conversations relating to that was the best bean I had, and it was also the worst bean I had. So when we have to go back, and it's always hard to do an autopsy when we're in those situations. Right. Moisture is obviously the number one thing that we can go back and look at and rule out different causations that come to that. So having this ability to go back and help with either an autopsy or from a performance standpoint, why did something maybe exceed expectation or did better than you expected in a different environment? When we talk about our soil types, Dylan's project that he was working on, when we get to fertilizer and rainfall amounts and how that stuff becomes plant available, all ties back to moisture.
If you really want to make a friend, give a Merschman rain gauge to somebody that lives in town. They're just amazed. I said, it's the only way you can talk to farmers in the summertime. You got to have a rain gauge, because everybody, if you ever noticed it after a rain, I know when everybody comes in the office, that's the first thing everybody says, how much rain did you get? How much rain did you get? And it's a big conversation. I know I heard this one comedian that was tongue-in-cheek making fun of farmers. He said, why are they so obsessed with the weather? Well, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So this is a great tool, Ben.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Second thing that I had here is we have data hot off the press from our seed treatment data, essentially for soybeans. And we can throw this up on the screen here, but basically this is 6 replications per location. It's looking at an F&I, which is basically what our bonus coated
fungicide, insecticide.
Yep.
And that's what, if you're purchasing downstream seed treatment, that's pretty much what they're selling you, fungicide, insecticide.
Yep.
It's the basic, covers the bases.
Yep, so that would be this individual F&I would be what our bonus coat would be plus the ethoboxam. So it's 4 fungicides and an insecticide. So it's a healthy, nice mix.
So it's more than just a single fungicide and an insecticide.
Correct. And then the next bar off to the right is the fungicide, insecticide, same mix plus Sultro. And then our starting line seed treatment, which has Heads Up, Tripidity, 4 fungicides and insecticide, and that by itself, which is a very, very strong product. And then we have our starting line plus, which adds in the Tridemco, which is the nematicide, and Sultro, which is our SDS and our second source of nematode protection there as well. Both of these plots were Wisconsin plots, and both of these plots had mild to moderate pressure. They have it every year. That's why they do the testing in these locations. And you typically get really, really, really nice data from where these plots are pulled from. And as you can see, the products that we are using are working now, whether that be against white mold, whether that be against nematodes, whether that be against sudden death, whether that be against any of the fungal pathogens that are holding stands back early on in the spring. The products that we are using are helping maintain yield potential of whatever variety that they're using to plant.
And this is all soybean data, and of course, our starting line for corn is extremely unique too. So I mean, I don't think most of our farmers out there understand how important seed treatment is, and it's kind of a fuzzy, foggy area but we use 6 different originators or companies to make up our seed treatment in soybeans, and we can pick the best of the best because we're an independently owned and ran seed company. So consequently, I think that is the advantage we have. And one of our top dealers had a quote this week that said, you got to play to win. And you play to win by planting the best genetics coupled with the best seed treatment. In other words, you got to start out right. And that's how you win. And again, that's why we call our seed treatment starting line. You got to start right at the starting line. So the data just backs up how strong our products are.
Yeah, and this data that's coming from our originator matches very closely with some independent work that one of our dealers did as well. So they were seeing about a 4 bushel increase when you look at starting line versus starting line plus. I wish we would have an untreated check here just to see what the difference between the starting line and the untreated check would be. But when we know that we're comparing all the same active ingredients from the F&I or the fungicide insecticide standpoint, the heads up and the tripidity are adding another 4 bushel in one of these locations compared to the single F&I, and actually 6 bushel in the second location compared to the F&I. So we have very, very strong data. Rosens, who provide the seed treatment for us, have very, very strong beliefs that with the thiabenzol that's in the mix, with the heads up that's in the mix, with the tripidity that's in the mix, paired with our F&Is that we have, we cover a huge spectrum. And they would say in moderate sudden death pressure, that would be that is their go-to economical seed treatment when it comes to handling sudden death as well. So we're attacking all of these things that chip away at yield. We're attacking it from multiple different directions.
In multiple ways too.
Modes of action.
Yeah, modes of action, yeah. So it's just not one product.
Right. So we're attacking things from multiple directions, and I think this is just about as pretty and perfect data as you could get for how our seed treatment's holding up, and it's matching some other people that are doing trials as well.
Yeah, and we're working on ways to improve it all the time too for 2025.
Well, a key to that would be, we published our seed treatment on our seed guides for our corn, and if you look in the book, that seed guide has 4 fungicides and an insecticide, and that's actually changed in the past month and a half. Lynn and I and everybody sitting at this table decided to throw an additional fungicide in there, Stamina.
For our corn product, yeah.
On the corn side, because Stamina is found to, it's pretty commonly known that when you add that into the mix, it's a broad spectrum fungicide that's going to handle some of the pathogenic diseases that'll cause corn dampening off. But what it actually does is, on top of that, is it gives you plant health and allows you to plant in even cooler conditions. So when you add a product like Stamina and we have tripidity on the corn, we're doing more than 99% of the seed companies out there to help get stands established, starting line. It's the start of the year. Everybody knows that the highest yield that bag of corn will ever give you is when it's sitting in the bag, and how important stand is. We're attacking getting your stand up from multiple directions as well.
And you can only get it on Merschman corn. I mean, it's a very unique combination, and adding that stamina is really helping in cold conditions. I mean, that's why we put it in. We go, hey, we could really beef up our extremely good cold tolerance if we would add that in. So we did.
Yep.
So the seed treatment thing is many times overlooked. In other words, is your seed treated? Well, you have to understand that there's a lot of differences in seed treatment. And believe it or not, most of the seed companies out there, particularly the big guys, it's all about dollars and cents. It's not about what can help you get a better stand or what will help you, because they got to maintain a certain margin and a certain return on investment. And we're just the opposite. Yeah, we have to make money to invest in our business, but we want satisfied customers.
Right, and they only pull from their own camp.
Yep.
So if it's in a Syngenta bag, they're going to be using Syngenta chemical. If it's in a Bayer bag, they're going to be using Bayer chemical. If it's in a XYZ bag, they have to pull from their own camp, because that's where their gross dollars are going back to.
And some seed companies basically will do a deal to get a little better price on their seed treatment with one company. And when they do that, that locks them out from using a bunch of the other products. They sign an exclusive agreement. It's usually we've been thrown 3-year agreements all the time. We go, we don't sign any 3-year agreements. Things are changing so fast. We want the option to every year to decide what's best for our customers. And that's the way the seed industry works. So they're either pulling out of their own camp, they're signing a source agreement or a supply agreement where they can only use their products, so they basically lock themselves out of making a better product. Maybe ours isn't the lowest cost way to do it, but it's the best way to do it.
My only point to that is we're looking at this data. A lot of data is thrown around when we talk about a lot of different products in the ag environment. The nice part, like you said, was the replication that we've seen, and those are statistically significant numbers. Yep. A lot of times when we talk with soybeans, people will throw out a 1 to 2 bushel advantage. When you're talking 1 to 2 bushels on soybeans, you're borderline statistical significance. When you get to 3, we got something there. When you get to 4, I want to call it a home run, but we're getting really close to being very, very firm in the belief that is going to give you a very strong ROI.
Well, I think I've said it before on Cup of Joe. 4 bushel typically means that you're going to win 80% of the time.
Correct.
So if you have a 4 bushel increase from something, you are going to win 80% of the time. So that's pretty strong win percentages. So those are 2 things I had this week. What do you got going on?
My week, we had all the salesmen on for our November meeting. We had a really good conversation. I think I'm just going to do kind of a brief overview of our conversation. The November meeting, it's probably my favorite meeting, I'll be honest, is that it's the meeting that we all come back from and kind of sit down and we evaluate. We start in the book, we start with our experimentals, and we take a look line by line, every single variety that we had in field settings. We evaluate them in our test plots, and then any other form of data that the bin gets from seed treatment, and we all sit down and collect.
And also our replicated research trials. I mean, from our breeding organization.
Yep.
So, I mean, we layer all those layers together. From field results, test plots, breeding data. I mean, and it's broad over the whole Midwest and Mid-South. So
Correct.
It's a big slice of information.
And this is where I'm going to brag about our guys. I think we've got the most well-rounded group of salesmen that you can have in the industry when it comes to being able to sell the product, being able to service the customer, and at the end of the day, they're all extremely capable agronomists
and we have a lot of our team is CCAs.
Yep.
We have a huge percentage of our salespeople that are CCAs, certified crop advisors.
So when we sit down and we look at all these, I'm always amazed at the information that we get. MS Tech provides us with a lot of great information, and then we're able to use that as a foundation, and then we take our in-field observations and either find a little bit, maybe fine-tune our placement, fine-tune how we think that bean reacts in different environments, and given that our footprint is of decent size, stuff can act a little bit different in different places, and when we have that collaboration with our guys, we kind of figure out what makes these beans tick. We kind of know it ahead of time, but we can really take that and go, we're talking about 3 or 4 bushels. We're in those high-yield environments. Those are big numbers, and our guys are able to sit down and throw the information at each other. We're able to kind of expand our seed guide, I guess you would say, from the information that we get. And when you're out there talking to your Merschman seeds dealer, your Merschman seed rep, they are the most informed individual with these soybean varieties that they have, bar none in the countryside.
Yeah, when you get 5-6 territories over, going east to west, going north to south, and then all of a sudden you hit this agreement on all 5-6 territories where this soybean variety fits and where it yields, and it consistently did this, what the architecture is and how it works. I mean, it is rock solid when we make that recommendation that we know where this bean goes and how it works. We saw that yesterday. I saw it over and over again that we have some widely adapted products, east to west, north to south. So it was a good meeting. Particularly, you let everybody express what they felt, and we spent a lot of time on it.
I think that's important for our growers to know that we definitely care about their yield environments. We care about what makes their bottom line have the most profit, and to do that, we start at the beginning. We start with evaluating our seed treatment, evaluating the varieties that we put on the farm. And then, we also evaluate them through the growing season as well. Because a lot of this stuff, we're not just talking about going to a test plot and just looking at it in a 300-foot swath. Our guys' boots are in the field. They're out in the different environments that they know that the different growers put them in. And we're really fine-tuning that down. So when you guys talk to your Merschman dealer, your Merschman rep, and the recommendation is out there, it's based in concrete evidence, and we're trying to maximize that yield when it goes onto your farm, and take that guesswork out of, well, I think that one might work there. We just have too many data points at this point in time right now to limit the exposures for failure. Yeah. Now, will Mother Nature probably give us a curveball every now and again? Yep. But we're just trying to take that curve and really flatten that as flat as we can. And
we saw a lot of, we saw stuff of our products in extreme drought, and then we also saw we had ideal conditions. And then when you start comparing how consistent they are in extreme drought versus ideal conditions, and then you feel real comfortable about making that recommendation. And then we also came up with some recommendations. If you're going to be tough, you're going to have tough soils. We got products that work. We got some products that are more racehorse too, and we know that. So spend some time with your Merschman dealer and your Merschman rep to fine tune your product selection field by field, and we can raise your yield. We definitely can.
Couldn't agree more. It's fun to watch how excited, what you guys are talking about, how excited the salesmen get when,
correct.
Apache was one that we were talking about yesterday, where it's like, Apache's been a good, consistent bean. But last year, the Apache had a year, and it matched what MS Tech's numbers showed as well. And it's just, you'd go from Western Illinois, you'd get into Eastern Iowa, you'd get over into Nebraska, and everybody was in agreement. The Apache hit really, really well this year. So what made it hit? And then we have a discussion on what made it hit. So it was a very, very good meeting.
Yeah, and we talked about the iron corrosive problems in certain sections of our territories, and and just in general, all the different unique problems that are out there that which variety, how that changes your selection process, and so it was a good meeting, and I think we walked away feeling real good about that. We can match things up, and we did the same thing on corn. I mean, we dissected our corn. This is our first year to explode with Merschman corn and the Power Core and List corn trait, which is very unique. And one of the things that came out of the meeting that we've had this past week was, why not plant Merschman Power Core and List corn next to your Enlist soybeans, where you don't have that fence. So then you can hang the boom over on your when you do your soybean application into your corn, and you will just have a nice clean, no gaps, no weeds, no nothing there between soybeans and corn. So every farmer out there that has Enlist soybeans should at least fill the planter up with Merschman corn and plant the outside rows next to their Enlist beans. And then when they spray, you don't have to worry about Liberty hurting your corn. You don't have to worry about Roundup hurting your corn. You don't have to worry about 2,4-D hurting your corn. You're covered. So, and I think it's a great suggestion. And everybody hates weeds. And anytime you leave weeds behind, you're just leaving it for the next year to fight them. So I know my grandfather, who farmed for 50 years, he said, Joe, I've been fighting weeds for 50 years. I think they're going to beat me. Well, you got to stay on your game all the time. So that was a good suggestion. Plant your outside rows of your corn to Power Core and List Merschman corn.
Well, and you can build on it. I'd like you to talk about it a little bit, but talk about what our salesmen saw. I mean, you don't just have to plant the outside. You can plant the whole field.
Oh, I know. Let's talk about corn hybrids. What are we seeing?
Yeah, from a finite level, we were really able to find different environments that I'll just specifically talk about the 111, 113 day right now. The 111 day, we found that it had a really good top end potential when we were able to put it in an environment where fertility was good, rain was adequate, but we also had some environments that they put it in where the ground was decent, rain just didn't show up, and they were able to get some pretty good numbers on that particular variety. David was talking, some 200 plus bushel corn.
That's in central Missouri, right?
Correct. Yep. And the expectation there is probably far less than that. Now, when we get into some of our stuff around Lee County, we were able to have a really good year in corn. And when we look at it across the portfolio, from the Merschman standpoint, we look at it against competition. we were able to hang, if not exceed, what that 111 day in what I would call probably our variable to better environments. So we're really excited about that one. When we talk about placement, that was kind of a theme where guys were able to exceed expectation based on soil types there. Now when we flip to the 113 day, this one is one that I think in our conversations, are we left with a really strong placement idea with the 113 day? I would say it's probably more definite than the 111. We just had a really good baseline with the plots that we were able to put it in. The downside with the 113 this past year was we just didn't have as much as we wanted from a testing standpoint. But I feel like we can put that in environments that have some run, be able to push the population a little bit in those environments, bring it to environments that are maybe a little bit more stressful. We can lower that population. It's got a good flex to it where we're able to maintain either yield levels or ROI levels in those different environments with that 113 day. Won the plot down at Stroutman's plot in the Missouri River bottoms there outside of St. Louis in LaBadie, Missouri. It won the plot over in Rodney's in Trenton, Missouri. So it's got a nice fit for our Missouri folks that are looking to have a little bit of a top end potential while also maintaining a very good ROI from a price standpoint. Now when we pulled it up into Iowa, I don't know why everyone wouldn't plant this hybrid. I mean, it just has a fit. That when we get to that even the marginal Iowa dirt, which is still in some spots pretty decent dirt, it hung extremely well, if not plot leading. It just seems like a product that our guys were really, really excited about. They were very focused on leading the charge in that. Like I said, the only downside was we weren't able to have as much of it in the countryside as we wanted to, but we're also a little bit selfish too in that regard. So
we'll get originator data too. That'll help a lot.
The Merschman Power Corn List Corn, it's a brand new trait. If you're planting it, it's probably the first year most of you will even have the opportunity to plant it. And most of the companies out there are trailing us, introducing it. So if you want it, you're going to have to come see us because we're out front with it. We have a lot of experience with it. And I know that bringing Merschman corn out, that was a tough decision to make because I said, we're not coming out unless we can compete. And Ben did a real good job of really digging deep, and we felt the Power Core trait was a way that we could differentiate ourselves and not be a Me Too company and be out front. So we're out front, and I'm excited. I'm really excited about these hybrids.
Yep.
I think one point I forgot to mention too that I wanted to, I guess, go back to with those two hybrids in particular was the late season plant health in these. As we get into years, like for most of our sales territory had a very, very harsh August, September, probably even go back to the end of July. Late season plant health in these two varieties, and actually all of the Merschman corn, but these two in particular was extremely well. We didn't run into a lot of top dieback, didn't run into very heinous tar spot. Was there tar spot in some instances? Yes, but that's one that I feel like we have set the base on from the genetic side of it. We can just let the farmer manage the tar spot. But when we looked at the plots that we went to up by your house, the Power Core corn just continually amazed me at how much late season intactness it had, how much it had tar spot, but it was still green, and some of the competition was had either cannibalized or had already gone into desiccation. And when we're talking, we were up there looking at it. Yeah, we had kind of started some spots into corn harvest, but I mean, you can't tell me that some of that stuff hadn't been dead for 2 or 3 weeks, and that had to be in that critical fill period in that corn or finishing out that corn. And real curious when we get that data what that stuff looks like. But it passes the eye test, it passes the yield test. And hopefully it passes the checkbook test too.
Well, and on the other thing too is we know our supply. We know exactly what our supply is. We know pretty close within a few tenths of what our weights are going to be. Mm-hmm. And so that means no substitutions. In other words, you buy the corn, it's done. You're not going to have to. There's no guessing. There's no surprises coming in March, and that's one of the things that we've always stressed here. We want to get a year under our belt, but we're going to go back to. We will guarantee that you will get the hybrid that you order, or it's going to be free, and you can expect to see that come out in 25. But because we have a very good inventory management system, better than almost all the major big seed companies, and that's how we do it. And believe it or not, marketing talks to production, which in some of these big seed companies, they don't talk. They just say, go out and sell this hybrid. How much supply we got? Don't worry about it. And then that's how you get into a substitution situation. There's any company that substitutes on you is not being fair to you, in my opinion. Where you don't order a red car and it shows up blue and you have to take it. I wouldn't. So we're going to work very hard on making sure you get what you order on corn, soybeans. That's just the way we are. Yeah, we can get a curveball. We can get a curveball that everything looks good, and then all of a sudden we have something fall out of bed, a bin or something. But we'll tell you right away. We won't tell you in March. We'll tell you immediately. We know that. Definitely by December, January, we're up to speed. So we're doing. A deal's a deal, and that's the way we want to do business. And we just think that a lot of the companies out there don't treat you as a farmer the right way. We just don't think they do. I mean, I would never think about doing that. So that's the way we do business. And so we hope that when you're looking at your seed purchase this year, that you'll push a little bit more our way because of the fact that we're working hard for you. We got everybody in this room, everybody in the company doing their very best to bring you the best products. So, Turk, I think you ran across something a little interesting this week that could be like a bombshell if it hits.
Yeah, there was a court. There's a court ruling that is imminent, according to this article that the Progressive Farmer put out.
And we'll put that article up so you can read it yourself.
Talking about the Dicamba possibly going back and if it could be that it gets vacated again.
The label,
and again, and that would drastically change things for 24. So again, I don't know whether it's going to happen. We've heard this before, and but for some reason they feel like this ruling could happen shortly.
Yeah, this case has been in the federal courts down in Arizona for quite a while, and our experience has been if you got bad news. You got really, really bad news for the industry or for whatever, you announce it the day before Thanksgiving because everybody's looking the other direction thinking about Thanksgiving, and then you can put out some bad news and then you get the heck out of town so you don't have to answer any questions. So we'll see. So when they say it's imminent, we've heard that before too. That could be months. But I think the suggestion is that, get off the pot or go, one of the two. Mm-hmm. In other words, make this decision because farmers right now are they're ordering seed and they're planting their herbicides and they need to know. But if they vacate the Dicamba label, that would make that particular trait less attractive, because you basically got a Roundup Liberty product. Mm-hmm. And anyhow, so keep your eyes open on that one. It may be an issue, may not. Time will tell.
Yeah. The other thing that happened this week is the Farm Bill did get extended, and in the stopgap funding bill that was passed. So that's a good thing for agriculture to give us some time to actually get a good farm bill passed, a new farm bill, because there's some changes that need to be made, but not passing or extending this farm bill would have been disastrous to go back to the old days of agriculture funding. So it had to get done. I'm glad they did. So.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the part you guys dread the most, and that's the corny joke. And of course, most of you know, why do we tell corny jokes? Because basically a seed company back in the day used to put out a garden seed catalog, and to get people to turn the pages, they would put a corny joke on every page, So we put the corny joke at the end of here, so hopefully you listen to what we said to get to the end. So we're repeating history. So I got several of them, and next week Lynn will lead with all his Thanksgiving jokes, because next week is Thanksgiving, but we're not going to rush it yet, okay? What kind of bug can tell time? What kind of bug can tell time? A cockroach. Cockroach, right?
Cockroach.
Okay.
Warming up.
And warming up, yeah. Did you hear about the bossy man at the bar? Did you hear about the bossy man at the bar? He ordered everyone around. Okay?
Nice guy.
Got back. All right. Everybody always they want to be successful, So I'm going to give you a tip, okay? What's the best air to breathe if you want to be rich? What's the best air to breathe if you want to be rich? Millionaire. Yeah, okay. All right. One more, okay? Then I'll put you out of your misery, okay? Why did the duck fall on the sidewalk? Why did the duck fall on the sidewalk? He tripped on a quack. Your kids will like that one. All right. Thanks for watching today. We're going to put out a lot of good information here over the next few days to our dealers about some of the stuff that we talked about. We sincerely appreciate your business. We hope that your harvest went well and you're finished. And hope you and your family are healthy and safe. We'll see you next week.